Wendy's has just dropped a bombshell. 300 stores are shutting down across the U.S. And the reason they're giving? Highly questionable. It doesn't even stand up to scrutiny. They're blaming underperforming locations and claiming to strengthen the brand. But when you peel back the corporate layers, a much darker reality emerges. By the end of this video, you will see the fast food industry in a completely different light. This is the story they aren't telling you. November 2025. Wendy's CEO gets on an earnings call and casually drops the news. 300 locations will be shutting down over the next year. Now, you might think companies close stores all the time. But here's the catch. Wendy's already closed 140 stores in 2024. That's 440 closures in just 2 years. Gone. 7% of all their U.S. locations. And the official explanation? These stores aren't performing well. We're cutting them loose to focus on stronger ones. Sounds reasonable on the surface, but when you look closer, the human cost is staggering. Let's talk about the people behind these numbers. Meet Sarah, not her real name. She managed a Wendy's in Florida for 6 years. About 3 weeks before the closure, corporate stopped sending basic supplies. No straws, no napkins. Her team had to buy everything themselves just to keep the store open. Then, 2 days before the official announcement, they got the call. 2 days to tell 18 people they were out of a job. Sarah's story isn't unique. Employee forums tell the same tale. Workers showing up, only to find doors locked. Franchisees losing life savings, encouraged to sell at a loss. One former IT employee posted, 10-week severance for full-timers, nothing for contractors. The entire restaurant technology support center eliminated. Fresh, never frozen, more like fresh, never employed. And the total impact? Around 8,000 workers nationwide. 8,000 lives disrupted, and that's only the direct impact. What about suppliers, delivery drivers, local economies? All of them feel the ripple. So, what's the story you've been told? Inflation, rising costs, consumers tightening belts. Sure, restaurant prices have jumped, about 24% since 2020. A McDonald's meal that cost $7, now 12, maybe 13. McDonald's reported its worst sales decline since the pandemic. Starbucks is struggling. Denny's is shutting 90 locations. It seems like an industry-wide crisis. So naturally, you think Wendy's is just another casualty. But that's only part of the story. Because while some chains bleed customers, one chain is absolutely dominating. Chili's. They posted over 20% sales growth in 2025. 20%, while McDonald's loses customers. So what's their secret? Value, aggressive marketing, and menu items designed to outcompete fast food. The sit-down restaurant is stealing fast food's core customers, and it's working. Meanwhile, Wendy's continues to close stores. The question is, why them? And why now?
Here's what Chili's did. They rolled out the 3 for Me combo. $10.99 gets you an entree, bottomless chips, and a drink. Then they launched the Big Smasher Burger, marketed as better than McDonald's. And it hit hard. Sales soared, while Wendy's kept bleeding locations. Chili's CEO said they were gaining market share among low-income households, while other chains reported softness with the same group. A sit-down restaurant stealing fast food customers? That's not supposed to happen. Fast food is meant to be the cheap option. But somewhere along the way, fast food got expensive. Chili's saw the gap and pounced. TikTok campaigns, viral menus, Gen Z lining up for the first time. Meanwhile, Wendy's is closing stores. And that's the reality nobody's telling you.
Here's where it gets real. The average Wendy's makes about 2.1 million in annual sales. A typical McDonald's, nearly double that. Wendy's has always been the smaller player, and when the pressure hits, they feel it first. But the stores they're closing, many are in lower-income neighborhoods, areas hit hardest by inflation. People cutting back on everything, not just fast food. The top 10% of households now control almost 50% of all spending. Half of all money in America is in the hands of the richest 10%. Everyone else struggling to get by. A $12 combo becomes a luxury. So what do people do? They cook at home, or they go to Chili's where $10 gets more food. And that's how Wendy's starts a death spiral. Fewer customers, sales drop, stores close, workers laid off. The cycle repeats, and nobody in corporate seems to care.
But here's where it gets really revealing. I mapped out every Wendy's closure over the last 2 years. Then I overlaid it with new Chili's openings. The overlap, 73%. Let me repeat that, 73%. Chili's didn't stumble into this advantage by accident. They moved strategically into markets where Wendy's was weak. Fast food fatigue, exploited. Vulnerable neighborhoods, targeted. And Wendy's corporate, quietly pivoting. In the same quarter, they announced massive international expansion. India, the Philippines, the United Kingdom. America's market, no longer their priority. An ex-corporate employee confirmed off the record, the closures aren't about saving money, they're about reallocating resources. America's done. They're leaving a market that built them and going where the money still exists. Now here's the harsh reality. Most Wendy's aren't owned by the corporation, they're franchises. That means individual investors, often families, put hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. When Wendy's says underperforming stores, what they really mean is shut them down. And the franchisees, they bear the brunt. One posted anonymously, "I've been with Wendy's for 20 years, paid every fee, followed every rule, did every remodel. Now they tell me my store is hurting the brand. I'll lose everything." Meanwhile, Wendy's corporate reports optimized footprint. Stock price rises, executives get bonuses, and 8,000 workers lose their jobs. The system works as designed, except the people paying the price aren't the ones making decisions.
Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. This isn't really about Wendy's. It's not even about fast food. It's about what happens when 90% of the country is falling behind economically, and the top 10% keep pulling further ahead. You can't build a sustainable economy on that foundation. Eventually, the bottom pulls down the top, and that process is already underway. I spoke with an economist who studies restaurant industry trends. She said, when people stop eating out, it's one of the first signs of economic distress. But when fast food restaurants start closing in profitable markets, it's not a sign, it's a scream. The companies already know this. That's why Chili's pivoted to value so aggressively. That's why Wendy's is going international. They're preparing for a future where the average American can't afford to eat out. The question is, are we ready for that future? Because if we're not, we'll see far more closures. Not just Wendy's, not just restaurants, retail, entertainment, every industry built on middle-class spending. And the scary part? Most people aren't paying attention.
So the next time you pass a closed Wendy's or any closed restaurant, don't just see a business decision. See 8,000 workers who lost their jobs. See franchisees who lost their life savings. See a warning about where this economy is heading. The companies will adapt. They will find new markets, new strategies, new ways to make money. But the workers, the small business owners, the communities,
they're the ones left behind. And unless something changes, unless we rebuild an economy that works for everyone, not just the top 10%, this is just the beginning. This story isn't over. And by the time the rest of us realize, it might already be too late. If this video changed how you see what's happening in America, subscribe, because the real story, it's still being written, and you need to see what comes next.